I'm going to just read some names here. Sharon Engel, Christine O'Donnell, Ken Buck, Todd Akin. Maybe you remember these. Maybe our viewers remember some of these. John, we've seen Republicans in the last 10 years or so, this was back during the Tea Party era, field candidates who were too much for voters in seats they otherwise would have won. Is that Mehmet Oz? Is that Herschel Walker?
Could well be. I just want to remind people, as I said earlier, that in 2010, Republicans did not pick up the Senate, but they won 6 seats. They didn't not win seats. They didn't win the 4 seats they needed to get into the majority. It took them 2 more election cycles to get there. It's a 50-50 Senate. Walker can lose, Oz can lose, Johnson can lose. If there is because they're bad candidates. If there's a wave, there are candidates we're not even talking about who could be swept. It's another thing that happens in a wave. You've got tomorrow night, there's a Republican primary in Washington State. There's a candidate there named Tiffany Smiley. Nobody on the East Coast knows anything about Tiffany Smiley. She is a dynamite candidate against Patty Murray, who is running for a 6th term. You've got Adam Laxalt running against Cortez Masto in Nevada, a state that, as you said, is kind of trending Republican, and where you have numbers and polling about Hispanics in Nevada that have to be very unnerving to Democrats. So you could have unexpected victories. Colorado, Joe O'Dea is running Colorado against Michael Bennet, apparently a very good candidate. If the atmosphere is unfavorable to Democrats and stuff happens, you could have unexpected victories that will make all of these conversations about Herschel Walker and Dr. Oz go away.
Those are the kinds of things that can happen in wave years.
But Jen, I've lived through them. Yes, that definitely, when that wave hits,
But I want to zoom in
on the other side will win. Yes.
On Georgia with you, because I thought there was an interesting set of numbers that came out. Fox did some polling in Georgia. Because remember, there's a governor's race in Georgia this year, too. Brian Kemp, the Republican, running against Stacey Abrams, a rematch of 2018. And I think we have those numbers. In the Senate race in Georgia, well, this is the governor's race. Brian Kemp is leading Abrams by 3 in this poll. Same poll looked at the Senate race, though, and it's a different result. Actually has Herschel Walker trailing Raphael Warnock, the Democrat, by 4 points in that race. It raises an interesting possibility to me here that you're seeing there in Georgia something that might be an opportunity for Democrats elsewhere. Brian Kemp went to war with Donald Trump, and he won. Trump went after him in the primary this year. Brian Kemp won.
Well, he won big.
Did that make Kemp more acceptable to swing voters in Georgia in a way that maybe Herschel Walker isn't? Could you see a split ticket vote in Georgia where that's a decisive factor?
Yes, I think that could happen. I mean, and Georgia is such an interesting experience because, and I think that states like Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Michigan that were really on the front lines from November to January of 2020, those voters pay really deep attention, and they've been deeply affected by it. And the fact that in Georgia, that Republicans, it's a Republican state that's been trending blue. That's different than Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, Michigan going the other way. A Republican state that's been trending blue, those Republicans hung on to the conventional leaders like Kemp. And I think they're very concerned about what they see in the performance of Walker. And you could see that kind of split. But I think in those 3 states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Georgia, where January 6th and the fight over vote counts was so present, those issues are big for voters too, and I think that Jan 6 is could play a big role there as well.
I want to ask you about that as well, because one feature of this primary season has been Democrats sort of saying what you're saying and sensing weakness in Republicans who've closely aligned themselves with Donald Trump's rhetoric on toward January 6th. And in some cases, Democrats have actually gone in and spent money, big money, to try to elevate some of these candidates. You can think of like Mastriano, the Republican candidate for governor in Pennsylvania. The theory Democrats have there is, hey, this is a weak candidate. This allows us to win whatever the seat is. But are Democrats playing with fire here?
It's scary. I mean, I will admit that it makes me a little nervous to try to play God. Now, I would say in the defense of you talked about Doug Mastriano in Pennsylvania. He's the Republican nominee. He, was a big Jan 6. Wasn't there, but a big Jan 6 supporter. What the ads the Democrats are running, it's not as if they're running attack ads against the Republicans that they think might be a tougher general election candidate. They're just running ads about that person's record. They're just running ads about what Doug Mastriano.
But with the theory that it's going to elevate him with Republicans.
That for Democrats to attack him, it will elevate him. It's scary. I've been in these situations where, same thing in Michigan, where a lot of the Republican candidates have been taken off of the ballot. They've been challenged by Democrats to take off the ballot in the gubernatorial race, and so the candidate that's going to end up there. You're just not sure you're not sure what you're unleashing, but they're having to make tough calls. And I think thus far, if you look at Mastriano versus Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, it looks now like a pretty good bet. And again, Pennsylvania voters are very attuned to these issues because their state was on the front lines in that post-election.
Okay, here's the warning. Quick warning. The Democrats were up 9 points in Virginia in 2021 governor's race and up 16 points in the New Jersey governor's race.
Yeah.
And they won in Virginia and they came within 3 points in New Jersey. This is one of the reasons that people hate politics and hate politicians, disingenuous fiddling around to play games with people's expectations. And it is insane for Democrats to be elevating Doug Mastriano, who has basically said that he will challenge the results of the 2024 election if he doesn't like them, as the governor of the state of Pennsylvania. And he may be down 10 points. Don't trust that number. We have reason to worry that those numbers are not solid.